Now, there were few surprises in the superannuation recommendations, but I think one of the key drawouts is the impact that the recommendations could potentially have on industries outside of superannuation. So, for example, there are two recommendations in relation to the ability to pay for advice from superannuation. Those recommendations could well have significant impact on the financial advice industry and the ability of ordinary mums and dads to access financial advice. Also, the recommendation of one account for life could well have significant impact on the industrial relations system, depending on how that would be implemented. While Commissioner Hayne made a recommendation of one account for life, he provided little detail on how to implement. Two of perhaps the biggest challenges will be, firstly, the recommendations have sought to address some certain specific trustee conflicts, but the Commissioner, while recognising conflicts in other situations, decided not to remove those conflicts. So, for example, the conflicts in relation to financial advice, the Commissioner decided to remove those conflicts as they relate to my super products and to impose significant new controls if those amounts were deducted from choice superannuation products. It is also expected that the fee for no service arrangements that were profiled significantly during the case studies for the Royal Commission will be strongly curtailed in relation to financial advice. The top three things that I would recommend are for those clients which are a dual regulated entity, which generally means that the same company acts as superannuation trustee and responsible entity for managed investment schemes, that they consider options for splitting apart that role into two separate companies. Secondly, there is recommendations to extend BEAR to superannuation funds. Now, while superannuation funds are structured as trusts, which are different to the way banks are structured, which are as companies, I think that the superannuation trustees could potentially learn a number of lessons that the banks have learned in implementing of BEAR. So I do recommend that they talk to their banking counterparts where possible to start learning some of those lessons. In relation to the advice recommendations, they could have significant impacts on the contractual arrangements between superannuation trustees and advice licensees. So superannuation trustees should start looking at those contracts to understand how the recommendations could implement those contracts and how they could in fact implement the recommendations.